Gran was a hero, one of humanity's 5 great champions, the blade that struck down the demon emperor himself. In that final battle, he sacrificed everything, even his own brother, to bring the monster to ruin. But victory was a lie. The emperor's curse was absolute. Whoever killed him would become his vessel. Gran's body fell on the battlefield, but his soul did not pass on. 5 years later, he awakens, weak, broken, and trapped in the body of a lowly demon. The world he saved now sees him as an enemy, and the comrades he once fought beside would slay him on sight. Stripped of honor, stripped of strength, he has only one weapon left, his cursed ability, the sea of corpses and blood. With every kill, his power grows, dragging him closer to the monster he swore never to be. To survive, Gran must endure humiliation, wear the mask of his enemies, and climb back through the shadows of the demon world itself. Every battle tears at his humanity. Every victory leaves another corpse in his wake. But his resolve remains unbroken. Once a hero, now a demon. This is not the tale of salvation. This is the legend of vengeance reborn. The story opens during the climactic confrontation between humanity and the demons. 5 heroes stood together as they faced the formidable demon emperor. The epic battle drew to a close high above on the pillar of the moon beast, a legendary summit. Although the demon emperor was defeated, the 5 human heroes suffered great losses as a result. Sword Saint Ron stepped forward, accompanied by Celestial Archer and the impeccably skilled knight He. As one of the heroes concentrated on healing the Sage of Holy Light, by using his healing abilities, interrupted him. She gently told Master to halt, insisting that his attempts would not make a difference. Explained that the injury their companion received from the Demon Emperor's last attack was too severe for to mend, especially since he was already worn out. His face contorted with rage, demands silence from the group, his voice booming with frustration. Despite her injuries, pleaded with him, urging him not to risk himself in an attempt to rescue her. She made it clear that she was satisfied with how things had concluded. Felt a deep sense of regret, knowing that even though they had won, they had failed to keep their promise to reunite as a group. Out of nowhere, the Demon Emperor's voice rang out, agreeing with earlier words and declaring that everything was truly over. His eyes widened in shock when he suddenly heard the Demon Emperor's voice. He spun toward the source of the sound, searching the area, but the Demon Emperor was nowhere to be seen. The Emperor's disembodied voice echoed, declaring itself as his own and proclaiming these as the concluding words of their grand confrontation. A surge of crimson energy bursts from the heroes' bodies as the truth dawns on them. They have fallen victim to a deception. They come to realize that anyone who ends the Emperor's life is consumed by his flesh and blood. The Emperor reveals that this is his real power. He liked to refer to it as his own form of evolution. The Emperor announces that anyone strong enough to overcome him has proven themselves suitable to serve as his next vessel. He intended to harness every one of those powers during his ambitious mission to wipe out all living beings across the globe. In particular, Gran, recognized as the mightiest of all humans, stood out. Called out desperately for Gran, struggling in vain to escape the grip of the Demon Emperor's dark magic as it threatened to overwhelm him. Realizing he could not break free, expressed his wish to die at Gran's hands instead of being turned into a weapon for the Emperor's violence. The Demon Emperor attempts to convince that harming his own allies is a reckless and unreasonable decision. Gran was reminded that was the last family he had left. Despite this, urgently yelled at Gran to act quickly, explaining that his strength was nearly gone and he couldn't keep holding on. Faced his brother, who was slowly being swallowed by shadows, gripping his sword tightly. At the same time, the Demon Emperor's voice rang out, begging to avoid the heartbreak of one sibling destroying another. Taunted Gran, questioning the unsteady grip on his sword, and doubting whether Gran had the courage to strike him down. The Demon Emperor informed everyone that opposing him would be pointless, since the right half of his body had already been consumed. For a brief moment, managed to compose himself and assured Gran that he was glad to know Gran's uncertainty did not stem from a lack of strength. Hurled himself onto Gran's sword, driving the blade through his own chest. In that final act, he seemed to choose death, hoping to relieve Gran of any guilt in the days to come. Was informed that this kind of power should be reserved solely for those who are merciless and dangerous. He proceeded to expose Gran's natural talent, a chilling force called the Sea of Corpses and Blood, This ability granted Gran lasting strength with each life he claimed. In a state of panic, clutches his sword with trembling hands and calls out desperately for Gran. As life slipped away, she pleaded with Gran to honor sacrifice. At the same time, Ran encouraged Gran to take whatever action was necessary, placing the responsibility of protecting his sister in Gran's hands. Mysterious markings surfaced on his face, each one representing a soul he had claimed, 3 in total. The Emperor's voice echoed with mockery, demanding to know his reasons for taking such actions. He revealed that the strength from absorbing 3 lives allowed him to release only his right hand. Responds by saying that a single hand will be sufficient to handle the last challenge. Without warning, lifted his sword, aiming it at his own neck as if preparing to behead himself. The Emperor, caught off guard, reacted with a mocking tone, questioning whether this drastic act was the idea of a solution. The Emperor raised his voice in fury, demanding that he cease experimenting on the patients. Amid the chaos, the Emperor seized control of Gran's left hand and stopped him from harming himself by taking hold of Gran's sword. The holy sword, Sora, is shattered into pieces. The Emperor proclaimed with unwavering confidence that his body had become so powerful, no attack in existence could ever wound him again. Responded with defiance, questioning whether the Emperor genuinely held that belief. A sword holds the power to bring about destruction. Gran drove his hand into his own chest, yet he found himself unable to bring about his own destruction. The Emperor's eyes widened in shock as Gran, showing no hesitation, drove his fist into his own chest and mercilessly crushed his heart, prompting the Emperor to shout Gran's name in disbelief. The Emperor acknowledged that he had not fully recognized his capabilities, portraying him as someone destined for violence, a person who would keep taking lives right up until his own end. As Gran's awareness slips away, he believes these are his final moments, convinced that he will perish alongside the Demon Emperor. He was haunted by remorse, knowing he had failed to wipe out the demon tribe and had been powerless to rescue those he was meant to protect. This weighed on him as his ultimate regret. 5 years had passed. 5 years after the Emperor's death, a gathering of demons assembled to honor his memory with a solemn memorial service. Their discussion revealed that they had taken 4 human girls and a single demon, intending to use them as sacrifices. The leader addresses the group, promising that the Emperor's sacrifice will be remembered by the next generation of demons. She proceeds to declare that the ceremony is beginning. The ritual begins with the killing of the 4 unblemished offerings. Afterward, the act involved spilling a demon's blood, presenting it as a tribute to the Emperor. At that moment, Gran's awareness, hidden within the form of the demonic sacrifice, stirred to life, confusion filling his mind as he tried to understand his unfamiliar surroundings. The account also included the details of how he managed to survive. The leader seized the boy, barking at him to stay still while hurling insults and calling him worthless. Once so insignificant among demons that he lacked even a proper name, stared at his reflection with wide-eyed astonishment, barely able to comprehend that he had transformed into a demon. The leader explained to him that being chosen as a sacrifice was the highest honor possible. Just as the demon leader swings his weapon downward, manages to evade the attack in the nick of time, causing the weapon to slice through his restrained hand and sever it. The leader, his voice rising with fury, is convinced that actions have destroyed all their plans. He starts to question whether the action was intentional. Fixed the leader with a piercing stare, silently challenging whether the man truly failed to remember who he was. The leader stood motionless, stunned, as uncertainty about Gran's real identity started to fill their mind. A sequence of memories unfolds, revealing the leader from earlier times instructing a newcomer to move to the rear. The crew received urgent orders to row with all their strength, aware that the 4 masters observed their every move. The memories showed that, in the year 312 of the new era, the demon fleet had suddenly struck from the ocean, catching everyone off guard. A fierce conflict broke out with such unexpected speed that not a single person reached the scene before the fleet advanced. In the face of this danger, a solitary figure rises to challenge the advancing demon army. He was recognized by numerous names, such as the esteemed head healer of the sect of Mercy and the notorious demon-slaying madman. The Demon King made his entrance, his powerful voice resounding through the air as he called for every soldier to listen to his orders. The story swiftly shifts back to the aftermath of the battle, where the leader delivers news that all members have perished. No one except Lord Shu was present. A recap of the battle reveals that 3 demon kings lost their lives, but known as the King of Immortality managed to survive. The leader spots looming above the fallen bodies of his fellow demons, his own form smeared with their blood. In a different moment, the leader recalls remarkable ability to take apart the armored demons with ease, always aiming for the vulnerable joints to bring them down. Back in the present, discovers that his sea of corpses and blood power has been completely wiped out. During the ceremony, the other demons suddenly turned on him and launched their attack. With a powerful swing, struck down 9 opponents at once, defeating them all in a single moment. Observed that the demons he faced were incredibly feeble, and after defeating 9 of them, he realized he had gained only a small amount of strength. His natural talent is described once more, revealing that his strength grows each time he claims a life, and the amount of growth depends on how powerful his victim was. Seized a nearby demon, whose anguished cries filled the air as it pleaded desperately for release. With a weighted stride, moved toward the 4 women who had been chosen as sacrifices, his gaze shining with a turbulent blend of grief and anger. Attempts to mend his severed hand by channeling the art of healing. He recoils in horror as his hand suddenly morphs into a grotesque form, with writhing snakes sprouting from his flesh. In that instant, disbelief and terror consumed them. Comes to a dreadful understanding. Instead of being granted a new life, he now exists trapped within the monstrous form of a demon. Seethed with anger and contempt toward this group, viewing them as disgraceful and beneath respect, he ultimately announces that the only purpose for this race's existence is to be destroyed by him. Gran struggled to comprehend the scene before him. His eyes grew wide with disbelief, and a crushing sense of bitterness weighed down his heart. Overwhelmed by a sudden wave of nausea, he gagged and was unable to hold back as he vomited from the shock. One of the demons that had captured began to menace him, declaring an intent to torment him relentlessly until he cried out in agony like a human, promising death would follow only after his suffering. The demon snarled, making it clear what punishments awaited, and insulted him by declaring he was the most feeble of all demons. Meanwhile, fell quiet, lost in thought as he questioned how his life had led him to such a low point. The demon noticed a change in Gran from how he remembered him, but chose to act even more menacingly in hopes of scaring him. With a swift and forceful leap, silenced the demon's protest, ripping the creature's body apart and putting an abrupt end to the confrontation. Came to terms with his new destiny, reassuring himself that everything would be acceptable as long as he was able to keep hunting down demons. He found no reason to voice any complaints. Once had eliminated the last of the demons, he recalled overhearing their conversation about how 5 years had gone by since his victory over the Demon Emperor. He realized that before doing anything else, he needed to locate a spot where he could stay and learn about how things were in the world now. Spotted the troll's skull, and understood that he had returned to the realm where he had once battled the enormous creature known as Yuan Shan. He observes that the demons who came after have constructed a stronghold atop the remains of the trolls. A broad view reveals the enormous remains of the troll named Yuan Shan, with a stronghold constructed atop its bones. Came across a familiar cave, one he had once used as a safe place to hide for a short time. Once he is certain that there are no signs of demonic presence, he determines that this location will serve as a secure hiding spot. Within the cave, kindled a small fire and settled himself next to its warm glow. Gran remembered a time long ago, journeying alongside his heroic friends. He had braved a river of molten lava, bearing his companions on his shoulders and pressing forward through the intense heat as though it caused him no pain. In this recollection, he teased about her rough sewing after she crafted him an outfit from leaves, prompting her to explain that she had little to work with. The rest of the team burst into laughter because of that. As he gazed at the small wooden statue carved in the likeness of a former companion, The memory slowly slipped away from his mind. With steady hands, set the statue beside the rest, each one a tribute to his fallen companions. He regretted not performing better back then. Took the wooden figure carved in his likeness and tossed it into the flames, seeming determined to remove any sign of his presence from the group. Stood silently, his eyes fixed on the statue as it was consumed by the fire. To him, the flames seemed to erase the person he once was, clearing the way for him to start anew. His mind shifted back to reality as he considered the countless lives that demons had ruined during the last 5 years. Gran came to the conclusion that his transformation into a demon gave him the perfect chance to bring down his enemies from the inside. With determination, he started to tap into the memories stored within the demon's body he now possessed. The memories showed that this body once belonged to a frail demon from the snake-blooded family. In the Yuan Shan region, a slave endured relentless torment, suffering under the harsh rule of demons who believed that power determined justice. A new, unexpected memory surfaces, revealing a sinister instructor lecturing a classroom full of demons about the current condition of their world. Could hardly believe that demons had their own system of education. He thought they existed solely to destroy, viewing them as nothing more than weapons forged by the demon emperor for war. Found himself puzzled by how the demons had built a society and made their mark on Earth in only 5 years. He carried the weight of guilt, convinced that his own lack of strength in a previous life had kept him from resolving every issue. In his heart, made a promise that, in this second chance at life, he would grow more powerful than before and relentlessly pursue his mission to track down and destroy every last demon. The focus moves to the region's second new recruit training camp. Paid close attention as a demon instructor described the present state of affairs across the continent of Solas. As a result of this explanation, comes to realize that after the demon emperor died, took charge of the demons, forming 5 powerful courts over the next 5 years, and keeping the conflict with humans alive. This resulted in a deadlock, with both groups holding an equal share of the land. The instructor shifts the topic, beginning to discuss the concept of natural abilities. The instructor clarified to the class that some abilities come naturally to individuals from birth, referring to these as innate talents. He continued by mentioning that demons, similar to lesser humans, are each endowed with a unique gift from the moment they are born. The instructor clarified that whenever humans or demons used abilities drawn from their natural gifts, they would inevitably use up some of the cursed seal energy hidden within their bodies. He told the group that their seal powers appeared as symbols, each one showing its strength by being ranked from the first, the weakest, up to the 6th, the strongest. He also mentioned that seals beyond the 6th, known as transcendent seals, were not worth discussing with newcomers like them. He proudly declared his own status as a formidable second seal holder, emphasizing that all the newcomers were still only at the first seal stage. Became aware that he, too, had reached the first seal stage. He wondered about the rarity of snake-blooded demons and recognized the importance of understanding his newly acquired innate ability. The instructor went on to describe how the second seal marked a vital stage, serving as the moment when a person could unlock the true power hidden within their natural abilities. The instructor clarified that one could only unlock the authority of an inherent talent after attaining the second seal. This ability represented a person's signature skill or final technique, unique to each individual. A skilled newcomer demon entered, causing the others to step aside in fear while he pushed Gran aside with force. Rumors circulated quietly among the crowd, describing him as a prodigy who had already reached the second seal, and warning that provoking him would be unwise. The newcomer shot Gran a scornful glance, demanding to know who had permitted a slave like him to come inside. Meanwhile, the surrounding crowd whispered among themselves, dismissing Gran as nothing more than useless garbage. The instructor demanded silence from the group and instructed that be returned to the gutter, signaling the beginning of the hands-on lesson. The instructor clarifies that neither the strength of one's seal nor natural talent alone can fully decide the result of a battle. The group realized that having knowledge, strategic thinking, and the ability to adjust quickly were just as crucial as any special ability. They were informed that the upcoming challenge would demand sharp attention to detail and thoughtful assessment, as they would need to discover the creature's vulnerability. The newcomer's eyes lit up with excitement as he finally found something that captured his attention. The instructor unveiled a gigantic creature, restrained by heavy chains, and clarified that this terrifying entity was a howling demon known for its wickedness. The emperor had once fashioned a breed of demon during his youth, creatures known for their lack of intelligence that caused them to lash out at anyone without distinction. Now, out of the original 10, only a single one remained. Grows uninterested in the lesson, convinced that nothing more of value will be taught, so he chooses to walk out. As he walked away, a sense of regret filled him, knowing he couldn't destroy every demon to strengthen his domain of corpses and blood. He knew that doing so would attract unwanted attention and lead to problems for himself. Without warning, the howling demon sprang into action, launching a powerful attack against the other demons nearby. The instructor seized hold of the creature's chains, silently reflecting that, despite the creature wielding the formidable strength of the third seal. The creature's one vulnerable spot, its throat, was firmly held by him, leaving it powerless and unable to unleash its abilities. Without warning, the dreadful howling demon starts to talk, leaving the instructor stunned. The beast taunted the instructor, referring to him as little brother, and claiming that he was wrong to think he could protect himself just by holding the creature's throat. The beast considered the younger demons to be inexperienced and foolish, having spent weeks pretending to be less intelligent in order to accomplish a secret mission. It regarded the destruction of the Court of Atrocities demons as merely a bonus to its primary objective. The creature shatters its restraints and escapes. With a sudden surge of aggression, the assailant struck the instructor down, ending his life instantly. The demons shook with fear, witnessing their instructor collapse effortlessly, his power seeming useless before the monstrous being. The wicked, shrieking creature tore through its own kind, launching relentless assaults and cutting down many without showing any sign of compassion. In the midst of the turmoil, the skilled demon suffers an injury from the strength of the third seal beast. Realizing that survival takes precedence, he chooses to retreat and save his hidden weapon for a more critical moment. As the gifted demon attempts to escape, steps in and prevents him from getting away. The gifted demon collapsed onto the floor, eyes burning with fury as he fixed his gaze on, silently questioning the reason blocked his path. His eyes fixed on him, their intensity radiating a silent menace that seemed to promise danger without a single word. The ferocious creature sensed the skilled demon trying to flee, and quickly moved in his direction. The situation sent him into a state of panic, as he understood that it was time to rely on his hidden weapon. Before the creature has a chance to close in on him, the creature abruptly stops moving, overwhelmed by the intense and frightening energy radiating from. The creature felt puzzled by the lack of fear from the frail demon before it, briefly suspecting the demon might be aware of its hidden vulnerability, but soon pushed that thought aside. The beast reasons internally that no demon from the new generation could possibly be aware of its vulnerability, since all 9 of its brothers perished long ago. The beast believes that is merely pretending. With a chilling tone, issued a stark warning that any further movement would result in its death. The creature dismissed the danger with a mocking sneer, gathering its power to assert dominance. Showed no fear and remained unmoved, ignoring the creature's menacing displays. Without warning, the monstrous demon let out a harsh snarl before retreating. It quickly assessed its chances, realizing that fighting would be far too dangerous for the small gain it might receive. The creature concluded that only someone foolish would agree to such unfavorable terms. The gifted demon stood frozen, overwhelmed by disbelief. Reached out his hand to the skilled demon, who eyed him warily, uncertain about what truly wanted. The gifted demon brusquely rejects any offer of assistance. Reached out with a chilling detachment, grabbed a fragment of the gifted demon's robe, and used it to clean the blood off his own hand. The skilled demon grew furious, insulting him by labeling him a dirty farmer. Afterward, the remaining demons gathered around, astonishment clear on their faces that he had managed to drive the beast off. Eager to uncover his secret, they pressed him for an explanation of how he accomplished the feat. A member of the warrior-class demons reminded the group that slaves were expected to keep nothing from their masters. Remaining composed, shared that he had discovered in the human tactical manual against demons that the notorious howling demons lacked steady eyesight, so by staying motionless, a person could avoid being noticed by them. The demons identified the book's author as the notorious madman known for slaying their kind. One of them remarked that knowledge of demons surpassed even their own understanding. Another felt reassured, recalling that the fearsome had died 5 years earlier. Armed with this revelation, the group agreed to pursue the beast in hopes of claiming the reward. Gran internally mocked the situation, fully aware that he had fabricated the supposed weakness of the vile howling demon. He secretly wished that the other demons would fall for his deception and end up destroying themselves. At the same time, the gifted demon seethed with frustration at Gran, interpreting his actions as both prideful and dismissive. A worried follower came over to check on him, showing concern for his well-being. However, the gifted demon refused to reveal any sign of frailty. He brushed off the concern with irritation, claiming he simply needed some rest and wished to sit down, firmly insisting that his legs were not entirely numb yet. Following that moment, the skilled demon instructed 5 of his loyal subordinates to chase after, commanding them to end his life in a way that would bring him the greatest shame. A follower confidently tells him that watching Gran die will bring a sense of satisfaction. Gran became aware that someone was trailing him. He came to a halt, turned around, and declared to those behind him that their pursuit had gone on long enough and that it was now time to face each other. The 5 demons emerged, and one among them summoned a dense mist that quickly blanketed the surroundings, making sure no one from outside could get involved. One member of the group instructed the others to quickly follow Gran, urging them to keep up so they wouldn't lose track of him. Within the mist, the demons conversed about the snake demons' natural abilities, attributing their powers to the bloodline of the ancient serpent, and they cautioned one another about the danger of its poisonous bite. They dismissed the threat, convinced that venom would be harmless because his seal power was so weak, and after agreeing to divide into groups, they began searching for him. One of the individuals cried out in agony, clutching his stomach where Gran's snake had sunk its fangs into him. At that moment, the demon burst apart, sending out a thick mist that quickly enveloped his fellow fighters. The group soon notices that the fog carries a dangerous venom, and as it stings their eyes, they cry out in agony. Announces his intention to challenge his new innate talent by pitting it against the 5 demons. He activated his thermal vision, allowing him to make out shapes and movements through the dense fog. He then unleashed snake-like blows with his arms, mimicking a serpent strike. Marvels at the strategic advantages his new ancestry offers, realizing they far surpass those he possessed in his previous existence. The red demon summoned his strength to forcefully clear the fog from his path. Once the mist lifted, found himself confronting the final pair of demons that remained. They ridiculed him, believing he was insignificant without his toxic mist. The red demon flexed his muscles, putting his power on display to try and scare Gran. Fixed his gaze on the red demon, his eyes betraying the mounting impatience he felt. Charges at his opponent and takes him down with one swift strike that goes straight through his heart. The remaining person quickly gives up, pleading desperately for their life to be spared. Demanded an explanation, prompting the demon to shift the blame onto the skilled, blonde-haired demon, insisting that he had merely been obeying instructions. Remains unconvinced by the explanation given. The frightened demon proposes bringing to a hidden cave owned by a skilled demon, convinced that the place is filled with valuable riches. Found the suggestion intriguing, believing that enhancing his sea of corpses and blood skill could bring him closer to breaking the second seal and unlocking his snake-molting power, a transformation that demanded a unique treasure to trigger the next stage of his evolution. Decided to visit the cave. The demon guided toward a rushing waterfall, explaining that the yellow hare's treasure was concealed within the cave tucked behind the curtain of water. Forcefully pushed aside the demon that had led him into the cave. The second person walked forward, only to be caught off guard when a barrage of lethal arrows shot out and struck him, piercing through his body. With a chill in his tone, offered a mocking expression of gratitude, then vanished into the shadows of the cave. In another location, the female demon in charge of the Yuan Shan region was informed that the notorious Howling Demon had disrupted activities at the second training camp for new recruits. The report continued, stating that the troublemaker had run away in terror after being confronted by a demon slave from the snake lineage. Listens to the news with genuine curiosity. Within the cave's shadowy interior, discovers nothing but a modest-sized box. Just then, a skilled demon with striking yellow hair emerged out of nowhere and swiftly grabbed the box away from his grasp. He shouted angrily at Gran, furious that she had touched his belongings. The skilled demon launched an attack, yet effortlessly defended himself and swiftly fractured the demon's leg. The gifted demon stared in disbelief at Gran, amazed by the drastic change in both his demeanor and strength, and suddenly understood why Gran's 5 subordinates had failed to defeat him. Because the area is cramped and his wound is slowing him down, he understands that battling here would be impossible. The gifted demon realizes that withdrawing is the wisest course of action for now. Utilizing his natural ability known as rock feather armor, he caused wings to emerge from his back, allowing him to soar into the sky and escape. When the airborne demon appeared before them, his mind drifts back to a time when he encountered a different winged demon. With tremendous power, hurled himself out of the cave. Recalling this memory stirred an intense anger deep inside him. The gifted demon's eyes widened in disbelief as he realized had succeeded in catching up to him. Quickly closes the distance between himself and the escaping demon, unleashing a relentless series of powerful punches against his opponent. The skilled demon delivered a powerful kick that sent flying, and he tumbled into the waters of a nearby lake. The skilled demon ridiculed, pointing out that he had ended up in the juice lake. The area became swarmed by an unending horde of vicious insects, which immediately set upon, launching their relentless assault. The gifted demon gravely informed Gran that the bloodthirsty biliary insects inhabiting Yuan Shan were both endless in number and possessed an unquenchable hunger, as numerous as the hairs on an ox. He mentions his anticipation at seeing them feast on his body, imagining nothing left behind but bare bones. The demon reflected on how the potent liquid extracted from the fallen troll, Yuan Shan, had been sufficient to create this lethal lake. He reasoned that if Yuan Shan had survived, the humans would have already been destroyed. Launched himself at the swarm of insects, his incredible strength evident in every move as he battled them fiercely. While battling each insect individually, the skilled demon found himself taken aback by the strength Gran displayed during the fight. He taunted his opponent, claiming that no matter how strong he was, his power meant nothing when faced with an unending swarm of insects. Unleashed his snake-like power, striking swiftly and repeatedly to wipe out swarms of insects at once. Although faced with criticism, the skilled demon persisted in ridiculing his opponent's quickness, sneeringly referring to him as nothing more than a dirty farmer. The skilled demon kept taunting, comparing his snake-like strikes to sluggish earthworms. He instructs him to remain still and endure a slow, inevitable demise. Before long, managed to wipe out a vast swarm of the juice insects. Bodies tumbled down from above, descending through the air. Without hesitation, he launched a direct assault against the skilled demon. The demon stared in shock as Gran moved with a swiftness far greater than before. Believed that despite having defeated numerous insects, their weakness only allowed him to advance to the second seal level. Despite everything, he remains confident that his abilities are sufficient to handle the troublesome bird. Stepped forward to confront the demon, warning him with a menacing glare that if the demon dared to blink again, would not hesitate to cut off the top of his skull. The demon accuses him of being insane. However, Gran's astonishing quickness catches her completely off guard. Fueled by rage, the skilled demon revealed a hidden power and set it loose. Emperor recalled discovering the demonic arrow alongside his sister during their days by the sea, and he felt certain that destiny intended for him to wield it now. The arrow struck. Dark, snake-like energy coiled around his form, encircling the arrow crackling with purple lightning. He plunges down into the dark, cold waters of the lake. The gifted demon felt a wave of worry as he pondered the reality of what had happened, uncertain whether had truly suffered harm from the powerful strike of the thunder arrow. The gifted demon's sister appeared, her expression filled with worry as she checked to see if he was all right. He reassured her of his well-being, explaining that he had just confronted a thief who attempted to take their possessions. He lifted a treasured object, describing its purpose as a remedy for her eyesight, and vowing to safeguard it at any cost. Beneath the surface, his body responded in an unusual way to the arrow. He found it odd, since he didn't remember the arrow possessing the power to alter someone's physical form. He questioned internally what was causing his body to respond so strangely to the arrow. Gran experienced a sudden flash of understanding, as though the confusing fragments in his mind had finally assembled into a clear picture. A gigantic snake emerged in front of, twisting its body into a looping figure that resembled the symbol for infinity. Becomes aware that the unusual offering of the arrow has caused his body to react on its own, automatically activating his authority. He feels lucky that things have unfolded this way. The true power held by the ancient serpent bloodline comes to light. A snake shed its old skin. A tremendous burst of energy surged out from the lake. The demon and his sister observed as the last bubbles vanished from the surface of the water, convinced that had not survived. He assured his sister that they could at last unwind, just as a flash of lightning split the sky above them. Without warning, the sky transformed as dense, dark clouds rolled in, blanketing the sun. Rain began to pour, drenching the earth and creating puddles everywhere. Thunder crashed loudly overhead, while fierce bolts of lightning split the sky with blinding flashes. The skilled demon stood motionless, his gaze growing wide with shock while he witnessed the fierce, dark lightning tear across the sky. A huge streak of purple lightning crashed down onto the lake, setting off a powerful blast that rang out across the surroundings, while towering waves surged upward. The demon's sister, gifted with extraordinary abilities, observes that a figure has leapt from the sudden burst of lightning. When her brother inquires about its whereabouts, she extended her finger toward the spot, indicating its location. The skilled demon stared in disbelief, his gaze fixed on, who stood boldly atop a statue rising from the center of the water. Emerged at the center of the lake, transformed into a powerful thunder being. An intense glow of purple lightning crackled around him, radiating a dangerous energy. The gifted demon and his sister freeze in disbelief as the pouring rain drenches them. With a steady demeanor, explains to the group that he deliberately delayed them so they would face their demise. He quickly admitted his error, which infuriated the skilled demon. The demon charged at him, shouting not to act so arrogant and insulting him by calling him a dirty farmer. Skillfully deflects the incoming blow and simultaneously slices his opponent. Gran's opponent soared through the air, his furious shouts echoing as he blamed Gran for deceiving him. Suddenly materialized behind his adversary and ripped off one of the opponent's wings. As he did so, he reflected inwardly that facing someone of this caliber wouldn't truly challenge the limits of his present strength. The skilled demon plunged into the water. The gifted demon's sister hurried over to her brother, anxiety written across her face as she imagined the worst possible scenarios. The gifted demon laments his own frailty, longing for greater strength. Driven by anxiety over what might happen to his sister once he is gone, he taps into hidden reserves of strength he never knew he had. A surge of brilliant yellow energy burst forth with tremendous force. Observes the change taking place. At that moment, his sister notices that her brother has at last unlocked the power of the rock feather armor. No longer willing to weigh him down, his sister makes up her mind that she must stand by his side in the battle. She activated her power, manipulating the demonic eye, and called forth an enormous creature that rose from the depths of the water. The siblings shouted together, showing everyone that they were prepared for a crucial fight where the outcome could mean survival or defeat. Her brother summoned his powerful move, sending a barrage of arrows that shook the heavens, and together the siblings combined their strength to strike Gran with a fierce, coordinated assault. Himself unwavering as two opponents closed in, his body crackling with the force of purple thunder energy that swirled around him. Moving at top speed, The character raced directly toward them, skillfully avoided the barrage of feathers sent his way by the gifted demon. The young man moved closer to the skilled demon and delivered a swift kick to the demon's face. The forceful kick sent the skilled demon soaring across the sky, hurling it far from the scene of battle. The monstrous creature, called forth by the gifted demon's sibling, moved closer with the intent to consume. Unleashed the nether thunder serpent strike, sending out a huge surge of purple energy that twisted into the shape of a serpent. With swift movements and impressive skill, the beast is no match for the hero, who overpowers it without difficulty. The skilled demon recognizes this moment as an ideal chance. He chooses to hide behind the bodies of the insects, hoping to catch his enemy off guard with an unexpected assault. Gran quickly catches on to the strategy, conceding that his adversary possesses a certain cleverness. Responded to the assault by unleashing his own power, surrounding himself with a surge of purple energy that blocked the attack. At that instant, his sister activated her demon eye, a power that allowed her to reinforce her brother's assault through sheer force of will. The move then evolves into a more powerful skill known as the sky-scorning returning drill. The skilled demon observes the swift decline of seal power, believing is using every ounce of strength to protect himself, and boldly declares that the attack is unstoppable. Acknowledge the strength of his opponent's move, recognizing it as not only impressive but seemingly unbeatable. Because of this, he sees no option other than to utterly destroy it. The conflict concludes as the brother and sister, badly hurt, plunge into the water, signifying their defeat. As the gifted demon lay dying, he attempted to hand his sister a small pouch, urging her to take it and escape. However, she could not bring herself to abandon him, refusing to leave his side. Appeared and brought his foot down hard on the gifted demon's hand, crushing it against the ground and pinning the pouch beneath his boot. The gifted demon pleaded with to give back the pouch, desperately trying to make him understand that his sister's eyesight depended on eating human eyes that had just been taken, or else she would lose her vision. Gran explained to him that the issue could easily be fixed using a basic healing technique. The skilled demon explained that healers with true talent were even less common than human eyes themselves. Gran had informed him that, because of this scarcity, countless blameless people had been deprived of their sight. The demon's sister leaves the treasure behind and pleads desperately for her life, imploring to spare them and take whatever he wants. The rain came to an abrupt halt, and Gran turned to the demon, questioning whether the victims had pleaded for mercy as their eyes were taken. The demon's sister stared in disbelief, unable to find any words. Insists that a clear answer, either yes or no, must be given. The demon's sister confessed that the memory had slipped from her mind. Gran realized he had been making the situation more complicated than it needed to be. Even with their advanced society and complex feelings, he understood that demons, at their core, had not truly changed. Their actions had shifted. Instead of simply causing harm, they now hurt others to serve their own interests. They regarded life as having no value and viewed causing pain to others as an ordinary part of existence. Afterward, considers how acquiring the powerful thunder form stands as his greatest achievement up to this point. He soon discovers that activating the ability drains a significant portion of his seal power, making it impossible for him to use it without restraint at the moment. In another location, a demon discovered the lifeless forms of the brother and sister and hurried off to inform his superior. The leader clarified that the sudden shift in weather was unrelated to the deaths of the siblings, whose heads had been instantly destroyed by a bolt of lightning. The group's leader, known as Skull Crusher, suddenly emerged, labeling the approach as both swift and aggressive. She then announced her realization that an outsider had trespassed onto her domain. Declared that, from that moment forward, she herself would be responsible for looking into any mysterious deaths involving promising new recruits. At the same time, made his way through the dense forest, moving carefully between the towering trees. When approached and demanded to know his identity and purpose for being there, explained that he was searching for wild fruits he could collect and later plant. Recalled seeing him before and realized he was the slave whose bravery had driven away the dreaded howling demon she had heard stories about. She explains to him that something of greater significance has come up, She hurled him to the ground and pressed him down with her foot, then remarked that she'd been wanting a fruit pie recently and warned him to bring back some quality fruit. She bent over him, warning that if he refused, she would turn him into a tasty meal. Takes advantage of being close to study her seal abilities. She recognized that she had reached the 4th seal level and specialized in defense, her impressive strength reminding him of his old ally. Assessed the circumstances, recognizing that his transformation into a speed-oriented demon provided him with an upper hand when facing strong adversaries. However, he also realized that his current abilities offered little power to break through an enemy who relied on defense. He regretted that he could not kill the 4th seal demoness, knowing that doing so would greatly strengthen his sea of corpses and blood ability. He quickly notices that her strength far surpasses his own, and without any knowledge of what could make her vulnerable, he understands that his odds of victory are nearly non-existent. Even so, he questions how he might overcome his longing to possess her. At the same time, flips through the pages of the Encyclopedia of Innate Talents, looking for information. The goal was to discover which ability had been responsible for the deaths of the 2 demons. She decides that the electricity storage organ ability is not the answer, since the patterns on the body do not align with those caused by that kind of electric current. She comes across information describing the sea of corpses and the blood talent, explaining that those who possess this ability grow stronger each time they take a life. She immediately rejects the idea without a second thought. Gran comes to the conclusion that he needs to boost his strength until he can eliminate her in one swift, unexpected strike, ensuring she remains completely unaware of his intentions. He notices 2 demons in control of a cart, with one cautioning the other that their leader would end their lives if she discovered what they were doing. The other person offered comfort, explaining that their location was secret enough to keep them safe from being discovered by her. From afar, observes the group intently. He believed this secluded spot offered the safety he needed to grow stronger without being discovered. Approached the mouth of a shadowy cave. At the entrance, a guard blocks his path and insists that he provide the secret password required for access to the black market. Within the building, a lively and crowded black market operates. Stormed into the room and hurled the severed head of the guard straight into the roaring flames. He catches snippets of conversation as a group of demons complains about the difficulty of obtaining passwords. One of them reminisces about the past in the Yuan Shan region, when purchasing humans was simple and common. Now, everything has become hidden and secretive. A merchant presented morning steel, a rare and superior metal known to greatly increase the power of sword moves by several times. A customer appeared skeptical about its practicality, expressing that he had never encountered a blacksmith capable of working with this type of steel. A different merchant displayed potions promising enhanced seal powers, claiming they were crafted from the hearts of creatures that walked on 2 legs. One demon remarked that if their leader discovered this illegal trade, she would punish the seller severely, while another demon looked over the merchandise with interest, feeling that the visit had been worthwhile. A demon questioned the reason behind the boss's decision to prohibit the exchange of all human goods and slaves 2 years earlier. In response, another demon explained that the boss had claimed it was to preserve resources, though many suspected she had gone mad. Observes the unusual actions and concludes that the boss must be scheming something. A merchant revealed that a new group of human goods had just arrived, pointing out that their prices were fair since every one of them, except for the first, could not see. An upset customer lashed out, claiming the merchant was attempting to deceive them by selling faulty products. Meanwhile, someone else chimed in, mentioning rumors of a brother and sister who were stealing people's eyes, and suggested that the merchant must have benefited from their crimes before anyone else. The merchant attempts to soothe the restless crowd, promising to offer the current batch at a deeply discounted rate. Moved ahead and declared his intention to purchase every one of them. The merchant eyed with skepticism, clearly doubting that he could afford the goods given his ragged appearance. In response, proposed an exchange. He would trade the fierce thunder arrow, and if the merchant found the offer unacceptable, he could simply ignore the suggestion. The merchant noticed the arrow and quietly wondered if was referring to the special weapon owned by the boy with yellow hair. Gesturing to his assistant, the merchant instructed them to escort the humans outside, making it clear he wished to have a private conversation with. The humans received a summons and were instructed to step outdoors. A visually impaired boy lost his balance and tumbled to the ground, his hands searching anxiously across the floor for the object he had dropped. The person is forcefully pulled out into the open air. The guard felt disappointed, thinking about how he had hoped to save one for his own dinner. The merchant questions, wondering whether he fears the yellow-haired boy discovering that he has taken the boy's treasure. Reveals his eagerness to be done with the task quickly. Without warning, lunged at the merchant, unleashing a vicious assault before subjecting him to relentless and cruel torment. The merchant struggles desperately to break free, but seizes him firmly and pulls him back into the building. He shut the door to the room, and moments later, a dark red liquid began to trickle out from beneath the doorway. Once ended the merchant's life, he exited the room without looking back. He eliminates every one of the merchant's companions in the bustling marketplace. Outside, a demon commanded the humans to stay quiet and follow instructions. The character menaced the others by saying they would tear out their tongues and cook them over a fire. Emerged without warning, and swiftly eliminated the guards before they had a chance to react. Realizes he finally has some means of protection, yet he observes that the counter has already finished its cycle. A young girl gripped by fear saw the events unfold before her eyes. Is viewed as a monster even by other demons. A message popped up, revealing that Authority Lucky Day could not be triggered. Recalled that this particular authority was uncommon and often brought harmful consequences. It could not be controlled by willpower, and might trigger on its own whenever the counter finished a loop and advanced to the following digit. Gazes at the last two children left in the room. He handed the item back to the child, who was still wearing the blindfold. The boy, unable to see due to his blindfold, recognizes the items as belonging to his group and retrieves them from. Gran instructed everyone to walk behind him. The girl wondered aloud if he would keep a hold on the rope guiding them. Tossed the rope onto the ground, making it clear through his words that he disliked watching others being guided or controlled. After Gran finished restoring their sight, one of the humans broke into a joyful outburst, overwhelmed with gratitude and astonishment. He marveled at his ability to see once more, praising Gran as a remarkable savior and expressing disbelief that someone so kind existed among their group. A different man rebuked his companion for speaking out of turn to the person who had aided them. The man who was scolded quickly expressed regret to Gran, noting that his friend remained fearful of the yellow-haired demons and struggled to communicate, and he pleaded for Gran's understanding. At the same time, the young boy expressed his gratitude to Gran for retrieving their possessions and curing their vision, but Gran hushed him. The young girl wonders aloud about Gran's motives, questioning why he would rescue them from the demons when he appears to be one himself. In response, Gran explains that he acted purely out of personal desire. The girl reacts with wide eyes and a furrowed brow, clearly not expecting his response and struggling to make sense of it. Fixes her with a stern gaze and commands her to remain silent, making it clear that the grown-ups have important matters to attend to.